So we're reacting to four most disturbing ones caught on live stream footage.
Is 2018, the gaming bar Good Luck Have Fun in Jacksonville, Florida was holding a Madden NFL tournament. It was day 2 of the competition and the venue was packed with
I
over
feel like I remember
150
hearing about
competitors and
this, but I
spectators filling the
don't
space. The whole
know.
thing
So
was also being streamed live on Twitch to a global audience. Unbeknownst to everyone watching, the live stream was about to come to a sudden, tragic end. At around 1:30 p.m., an armed man entered the building out of nowhere and opened fire into the crowd. The live camera feed just happened to cut to full-screen gameplay just a second before the incident, but viewers could still hear the gunshots
what?
ringing through the crowded room. Inside the bar, everything descended into chaos within seconds. Some players dropped
Dang.
their controllers and tried to find cover under the small tables, while others tried to make their way to the exits. Unfortunately, it was a small venue with equipment and clutter everywhere, making it near impossible to get out quickly. Luckily, the firefighters union was training in the
Damn.
area when the attack happened, allowing them to reach the site in just 2 minutes after the first
W
911 call
firefighters.
at 1:34 p.m. They provided critical first aid to the victims who managed to escape the building, but they couldn't go inside to look for more survivors. They were completely unarmed, and while the shooting had stopped by then, the suspect was likely still inside. Fortunately, the police arrived just a few minutes later. They began sweeping the building immediately to find and apprehend the attacker before he caused any more harm. By the time officers reached the tournament venue, however, he was no longer breathing. Inside, officers found the remains of 3 people, 2 of which belonged to the victims, 22-year-old Elijah Clayton and 27-year-old Taylor Robertson. The third person in the room
Over a Madden tournament, though?
was the attacker, who
That's
turned his weapon on
crazy.
himself after committing the crime. However, what surprised investigators even more was when they ran an ID check on him and discovered who he was. As it turns out, the attacker was 24-year-old David Katz, a professional Madden player who was competing in the same tournament just 5 minutes before the incident. This left investigators wondering how the situation got out of control so quickly. But the more they learned about David, the more it all made sense. He was born as the second son of a highly educated and stable family. His father, Richard, was a NASA engineer, while his mother, Elizabeth, worked as a toxicologist for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Why are you in the Like, are you just doing it for, like, the competitive thrill? Like, you're chilling. You don't need the bread.
Unfortunately, David suffered from mental health issues ever since he was just 9 years old,
Dang.
which became a major point of contention between his parents. Elizabeth wanted to give him antipsychotic medication like Risperdal, while Richard was completely against the idea. This disagreement became one of the reasons behind their divorce in 2007, when David was just 14 years old. His custody was granted to Elizabeth, and that's where everything went wrong. David spiraled out of control after the divorce and locked himself in his room. He missed long stretches of school, and when he did attend, he stayed quiet and avoided interacting with his classmates. Instead, he spent most of his time playing competitive games like Madden in his room, which later paved the way for a professional career. However, his mental health also kept getting worse during this time. He was prescribed antidepressants by a psychiatrist and was also sent to mental health facilities on 2 different occasions. And unfortunately, he didn't have the best time living with his mother either, with him even sending a handwritten letter to a judge to request a change of custody after his 16th birthday, stating, "Today is my birthday and I'm turning 16 years old. I live with my mom and have been wanting to live with my dad. My mom is pretty crazy. She's called the police on me about 20 times for pretty much nothing, like coming home a little late or something. She also gets drunk and starts yelling at me and poking me and doesn't leave me alone and always takes my stuff because she feels like it. She has twice sent me to mental hospitals and once to a wilderness therapy program for no significant reason.
Definitely does not sound like it's no reason.
I also can never talk to her anymore because I hate her more than anything in the world." All of these problems left
Yeah.
David with deep-seated mental health issues that persisted as he became an adult. He came across as extremely standoffish and rarely got along with other pros in the competitive Madden community. His relationship with Elijah was especially bad, with the 2 often clashing with each other at tournaments. Elijah also posted David's Madden strategy guide online for anyone to download for free, which only made David feel more resentful. This all came to a head on August 26, 2018, when, after losing to Elijah, David stormed out of the building and returned a few minutes later with his firearm. David had brought his guns with him on the trip, so it's unclear if the attack was premeditated or a spontaneous reaction to the loss. One thing that was clear, however, was that Elijah was his primary target. Viewers of the live stream even saw a laser hitting Elijah.
No. This isn't. No, this is some like Madden Pro. Nah, this isn't David. Uh,
Elijah's chest moments before
yeah.
David opened fire. Besides Elijah and Taylor, David injured 10 other people during the attack. Fortunately, none of these other victims' injuries were fatal, and they all managed to survive without any lasting physical harm. The Katmai National Park in Alaska is home to dozens of strategically placed cameras to observe the local brown bear population. Feed from these cameras is also live streamed on the internet, mainly for education and entertainment. Viewers tune in to watch bears compete for the best fishing spots and get ready for hibernation. But in September 2023, one of these live streams ended up serving a much greater purpose. On the 5th of September, the camera mounted on the peak of Dumpling Mountain showed a man emerging from the dense fog. He was likely a hiker who had climbed the mountain earlier that day, but had become lost and stranded due to extreme weather. And it wasn't looking good.
I was gonna
He
say,
was
you can't
soaked
even
to the
tell where
bone
he
and was
is.
visibly shivering with each step. However, with the little strength he had left, he approached the camera and said something into its mic. It was extremely windy, making his words almost impossible to hear. Fortunately, the one word viewers were able to make out was the most important one.
Help?
Viewers contacted Explore.com, the company that operates these wilderness cameras, prompting an immediate search and rescue mission for the hiker. But here's the thing, this whole incident was nothing short of a miracle. It was already incredibly lucky that the hiker spotted the camera in the dense fog. But not only was this camera live streaming the footage on the internet, it also had 19 live viewers.
Oh,
He could have
that's
easily
so
missed the camera entirely, or the live stream could have had no viewers, since there wasn't that much happening on the mountain at the time. And if that were the case, the chances of him surviving would have been close to zero. First was the threat of hypothermia. Even in September, temperatures on Dumpling Mountain can drop to near freezing, especially when accompanied by wind and driving rain. Being wet was also a death sentence, as water strips body heat 25 times faster than air. If he was somehow able to keep moving despite these limitations, he faced the second risk, the terrain. The slopes of Dumpling Mountain are steep, rocky, and in this instance, wet and slippery. One wrong step in the fog could have resulted in him falling down a ravine and possibly suffering a fatal injury. And with no cell service on the mountain, he had no way of contacting emergency services. However, the most terrifying risk was the wildlife. Katmai is home to one of the densest populations of brown bears on the planet. In September, these bears are in a state called hyperphagia, which is a biological drive to eat as much as possible before hibernation. They are active, focused, and most importantly, aggressive. A lost hiker stumbling through low visibility terrain was not a good combination. Luckily, he was able to avoid this grim fate entirely. Rescue workers reached the camera's location within a few hours, giving the hiker a second chance at life. All thanks to those who just so happened to be tuned into the live stream. One of the unsettling things about live streams is how unpredictable they are. There's no editing, no pause button, whatever happens, happens in real time. And unpredictability isn't just something we see online. Real life has its own version of it too. Sometimes things show up when you're not planning for them. Sometimes you realize you've been putting something off for longer than you should. For me, when life gets busy, scheduling a doctor's appointment is one of those things that
Bro almost got me there.
a.m. 30-year-old DeMonte Sherrill went live on Facebook. However, the purpose of this live stream wasn't to entertain his viewers or make money. Instead, this was his way of saying goodbye to his family while trapped in a hopeless situation. The day started off like any other for DeMonte at his construction job on Liberty Road Drive in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was assigned to the 6th floor and got to work not long after clocking in. Things were going smoothly until around 9 a.m. when someone started putting in the foam insulation on the ground floor. This foam mixture was created on-site by mixing two different chemicals in a machine. Unfortunately, the foam caught fire from a stray spark, which quickly reached the main apartment building, and since most of its wooden frame was still fully exposed, the fire spread faster than anyone could have imagined. The entire building was covered in thick black smoke, with parts of the flame reaching 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Around 100 workers on the lower levels were able to escape the building before it became this intense. Over 90 firefighters were also dispatched to the scene, allowing them to save 15 more people from the fire. Unfortunately, DeMonte and his coworker Reuben Holmes were not among the lucky ones rescued. The only way down to the lower floors was covered in thick, pitch-black smoke, making it impossible to see or breathe. All they could do was wait for help to arrive, something that was looking more and more unlikely with each passing minute. So, with no other option, DeMonte took out his phone and started live streaming to his family and friends on Facebook.
Yo, I'm at South Park right now, at work, and the building on fire, and I can't get out.
Dang, that's so sad.
This was both a way to plead for help, as well as a potential final goodbye to his loved ones, although he hadn't lost all hope just yet.
Somebody send help. We're at South Park.
Sadly, the fire surrounding DeMonte and Ruben was too strong for firefighters to do anything. After
Dang.
burning for multiple hours, the building eventually collapsed under its own weight, resulting in both DeMonte and Ruben losing their lives. Later investigations found contractors and developers guilty of not following fire safety guidelines. However, they were let off the hook after paying only a few $1,000s in fines. A GoFundMe to help DeMonte's
only a few
family also raised nearly $8,000, but no amount of fines or compensation could make up for the loss of a father of 4 and his co-worker Ruben. On November 22, 2016, 19-year-old Anthony Gillia went live on Facebook from Jackson, Michigan. He appeared heavily intoxicated from alcohol and potentially other harder drugs. He was also extremely angry at something. However, understanding the source of this anger was easier said than done. He was waving his firearm around, drinking even more, and speaking words that were barely comprehensible.
You know what's funny? I could go over there right now and pop a pig in the head. I could go pop a pig in the head. I don't even like
What is bro yapping about?
No laws, no nothing for me. I don't give a. I got one in the chamber right now. I have no problem.
From what the viewers were able to gather, Anthony was mad at his younger brother, Noah. There was already a lot of tension between the two ever since Anthony's parents kicked him out of the house. But then, Noah apparently sent a threatening message to Anthony, which sent him off the rails completely and resulted in the Facebook live stream on November 22.
It's not off right now. Almost. But almost isn't enough, right? Oh, there's a cop. I'm so scared. What's up? What's up, bud? Can someone talk to me? Alright, who wants some beef? Alright, if there's just one of you, then I'll fight you. But if there's more than one, I'll shoot. What's up? I'm crazy. Guaranteed.
Bro is straight from Arkham Asylum.
Crazy.
Anthony spent much of the early stream making vague threats toward Noah and those closest to him. Now, this would normally be the end of it, but for Anthony, online threats were only the beginning, because he next went to the house where Noah was staying and actually opened fire, all while still broadcasting everything live on Facebook. Maybe he just wanted to scare his brother Noah. Unfortunately, this plan backfired horribly. You see, the bullet missed Noah completely and went through the basement door on the other side of the room. Behind that door was the other resident of the home, 26-year-old Brittany Southwell, who was holding her 7-month-old baby at the time. The bullet hit her in the back before doing irreparable damage to her internal organs. She was rushed to the hospital as quickly as possible, but tragically passed away soon after.
Bro, someone
leaving
that
her
wasn't
baby
even
without a
involved.
mother. Anthony was arrested and taken
That's
to the
so
police station
sad.
for questioning. However, even after taking the life of
Shout out
an
to
innocent
the 3
bystander,
people in
he
chat
didn't
right
show an
now.
ounce of remorse.
Crazy. Who's crazy? Who's crazy? Who's crazy?
Stop it.
Who's crazy?
Give me that. You have to be.
Stop. Get out of here.
Did you shoot someone? I don't know. You're dumb. You're being dumb.
What's up?
Hey, no, this dude's not real.
Brotherhood in prison. See me there.
He went as far as to say that he could have killed everyone in that house if he wanted to during interrogation, as if that somehow justified or excused what he did. Anthony stood trial for taking the life of Brittany in May 2018 and was given a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
I would hope so.